young woman gunned down in Britain's most glamorous department store.
There's something about this murder that just seemed so gruesome.
A love affair that turned into a nightmare.
He said to her, "If I can't have you, nobody else will," and that scared her.
A stalker who wouldn't take no for an answer.
Probably he was immersing himself in some kind of fantasy world.
And a murder chillingly foretold in the victim's own words.
He said to me, "If you dare report me, I'm going to kill you."
The Harvey Nichols store in London's Knightsbridge. Just before closing time on Tuesday the 13th of September 2005, customers and staff witnessed a scene they would never forget.
I heard gunshots and just dived for cover. It was horrific.
It all happened so quickly, and the next thing I see is the gun.
The gunshots were all fired in quick succession. I thought people had taken over the store.
It was really scary. We were all terrified.
The scene that we were told about was one of absolute pandemonium. Obviously, there was a great degree of panic among the people who witnessed this, shoppers and indeed staff at the Harvey Nichols store.
2 people were shot dead at the exclusive Harvey Nichols department store in London tonight. Police said a man and a woman were pronounced dead at the store. Detectives aren't looking for anyone else in connection with the shooting.
As a journalist, I've covered a number of quite horrific murders, but there's something about this murder that just seemed so gruesome. The sense that in a public place, Harvey Nichols being one of the most exclusive stores in the area, that somebody was able to walk in, carry out a shooting. The thing we established was that 4 shots were fired, and then a further one was shot into the ceiling, and then he turned the gun on himself.
Behind this shocking murder in the most prestigious shopping street in the UK lies a tale of love, obsession and a very modern phenomenon, stalking. Now, one of the fastest growing crimes in Britain, it's estimated 1/5 of all women will be followed and harassed at some point in their lives. And what can you do to protect a woman when the person targeting her is persistent and threatening? Is the law strong enough to protect her? And can even the tightest security measures keep a woman safe against a determined and violent stalker?
I have to see Claire. I love you, and I know that you love me too. She said she loved me, and she really liked me the same way I liked her.
Clare Bernal was 22. She lived with her family in Tunbridge Wells until a dream job opportunity led her to London.
Claire showed a great interest in makeup when she was about 7. Then, by the time she was 12, she was making her face up beautifully, and she was always on for making up my face or her friend's face. And then she went to Shepperton Studios and she trained as a theatre makeup artist. And then this job came up for La Prairie.
La Prairie is an exclusive range of cosmetics and skincare goods with products retailing up to £1,400. Claire wrote to the company applying for a job at one of their concessions in London department stores.
She was desperate to work in one of the big department stores, and I went with her on the day of her interview to London. And I remember her being so nervous about it. And I remember that she had a portfolio with her, and she just kept going over it and over it and over it to make sure that she had it absolutely perfect.
Clare's application was successful. In the autumn of 2003, she began working in the beauty department of Harvey Nichols.
Clare was very proud to be working in Harvey Nichols. Yeah, it's a very beautiful store.
Harvey Nichols is the extreme form of the upscale department store. It's extreme because it's devoted to beauty and women. The people who go there are rich or aspirant women who are on a mission. They're going to make themselves feel better and to enter a different world. For a girl like Clare, going to Harvey Nichols will have been making it.
Clare was fantastic at her job, I think mainly because she was so genuinely warm and friendly. She was so easy to get along with and to talk with. Yeah, she was just a lovely, lovely person.
Clare was completely unaware of her own beauty. She didn't see it. Her beauty would come from inside as well, and people would see it.
After a year working at the store, Clare met the man who was to become her killer. 30-year-old Michael Pesh had also recently started work there as a security guard.
There's not a great deal known about Michael Pesh, apart from the fact he came from Slovakia. It's thought that he may have had a relationship, be it married or otherwise, whilst he was living there. He had some form of military training whilst in Slovakia, and obviously was a candidate for the security industry when he came to the UK.
Pesh had come to the UK in 2003 on a student visa, but Slovakia's entry to the EU the following year meant he could stay indefinitely. Pesh was a graduate of a military-based high school and had served 6 years in the Slovakian army. In 2004, he swapped one uniform for another, getting his security guard's job at Harvey Nichols.
Clare phoned me up one day and said she started seeing this man. She said he was older than her and that he seemed quite shy and was very attentive, but they only actually went out together for 3 weeks, so it was quite a short period of time before he started to show signs of being very possessive.
There were signs of jealousy too. Pesh complained about Clare spending time with her friends rather than him.
She saw this particular mate almost as a big sister, and he insinuated that she maybe had sort of lesbian tendencies.
Clare didn't know it, but Pesh was already displaying the classic behaviour of a potential obsessive.
That kind of level of control, manipulation and jealousy within a relationship could quite easily progress at the breakdown to stalking behaviours, and it would be clearly one of the warning signs.
1.2 million people are stalked every year in Britain, more than half of them by ex-partners. In the majority of these cases, there are signs of possessive or abusive behaviour during the relationship.
She was already starting to feel a bit uncomfortable about him. He was also talking about a future together. He was telling her he loved her, and did she love him? And she said, what am I supposed to say to that? She just didn't know. She just didn't know how she felt about him. He was just that it was all happening much, much too fast.
After dating Michael Pesh for just a matter of weeks, Clare grew tired of his behaviour and ended the relationship. It wasn't until many weeks later that she documented the terrifying series of events that followed. She made statements to management at Harvey Nichols and to police. This is what happened in her own words.
Pretty soon into the relationship, I realised Michael seemed to be quite possessive, and because of that and the fact that I didn't feel we were going anywhere, I ended our time together on 28th of February 2005. On that day, Michael became upset that our relationship had ended. I told him to get the train, as all this occurred at the station. He didn't get on the train and instead followed me to my home address, and he sat outside the address for a period of roughly 2 hours. During this time, he kept calling me. I received roughly 20 missed calls, and he came to the door and spoke to one of my flatmates and was being very rude and shouting at her and kept saying he wanted to talk to me. She said that I didn't want to talk to him.
After 2 hours, Pesh finally gave up and went away, but this was only the start of Clare's ordeal.
The following day, he followed her home with a big bouquet of flowers, and she said, "Just leave me alone, Michael. It's just not working out." And she left those flowers outside her door, and they stayed there all week. She wanted him to get the message, but again on that second day, he sat outside for a while. He just wouldn't go.
Pesh's behaviour became increasingly sinister, and one threat would cause Clare to fear for her life.
If you dare to report me, I'm going to kill you, remember that.
When beauty consultant Clare Bernal ended a brief relationship with Michael Pesh, a security guard who worked with her at Harvey Nichols, he refused to accept it was over. At the time, Clare didn't realise how serious his harassment would become, and it wasn't until much later that she reported him. When she did finally make her statements, she painted a disturbing picture of a man becoming more and more obsessed.
I've become increasingly worried and frightened by Michael's behaviour towards me, both at work and outside of work. At work, Michael has constantly approached my counter whilst both on duty and pestered me to rekindle the relationship.
People often get very upset when relationships break up, and it's not uncommon for people to plead for their partner to take them back. Most people don't continue that behaviour for more than a week or two. Some people continue it after that period, often for many months, and those are the people that we would call stalkers.
I've often seen him nearby, just staring at me, and on some occasions I feel like he's using nearby mirrors to observe me.
She felt that he was there the whole time. He was watching her. He would stand in line to her counter, and he'd just stare at her. He'd stare at her from the moment she came on duty to the time she left.
It's very difficult to speculate what goes through the mind of an individual who's engaged in stalking behaviour. But we do have the idea that often these are calculated behaviours which are designed to control that person and to actually manipulate that person.
Another time, after the 28th of February, I was leaving work when Michael approached me in full security uniform and stopped me by placing his hands on my shoulders from behind.
I love you, and I know that you love me too.
I said, "No, I don't."
Yes, you do, you stupid little girl.
He shouted this out in the middle of the Harvey Nichols street, and she was very embarrassed. And it had got to the point where she just didn't know what to do.
I informed him to leave me alone, and I told him this on numerous occasions. However, he took no notice.
When someone is rejected by a partner and responds by stalking them, they gain reward from any contact, even if the person is telling them negative things, such as that they don't want to see them again. It's very important in such circumstances to avoid any form of contact with the stalker, because this encourages them. What in effect happens is that the stalking contacts become a substitute for the previous relationship.
A poem Pesh wrote in his diary around this time gives a further insight into the mind of a stalker.
From our love, all that is left is a dried up spring. Yet all we had to do was push away the stone that was blocking it.